may be trying to manage your low self esteem in ways that are counterproductive, particularly in the long term. This video highlights 10 techniques that don't boost your self esteem effectively. I'm going to explain why they don't work and suggest more constructive ways of increasing your sense of self worth. Putting others down. If you measure your self esteem by comparing yourself with other people and tend to regard yourself as inferior, you may try to boost your worth by putting down other people, whether in your mind, by moaning about them to others, or by criticizing them directly. By increasing your sense of other people's inferiority, you may manage to persuade yourself temporarily that you're less inferior. But you won't change the underlying problem, your attitude towards yourself. Putting down others is tiring, not only for you, but also for other people, and doing so does not elicit warm responses from others. Instead, try respecting your own uniqueness and that of others. The human race is a species, not a competition. Focus on following your own values and pursuing your own goals. Pay more attention to your own strengths rather than others' weaknesses. If you feel inferior, re-evaluating your attitude towards yourself is more effective than trying to pull down someone else's self-esteem. Thinking you're special. Trying to replace a sense of worthlessness with a feeling of specialness is another common self-defeating technique you can adopt for beating low self-esteem. Look out for times when you tell yourself, if I'm not different, I'm nothing, or being average or normal is like not existing. The problem here is that as far as the universe is concerned, you're not special. No one is. You may be unique, but so is everyone else. In fact, you may well try so hard to avoid the horror of mediocrity that you end up living an unhappy and unfulfilled life. This tendency largely stems from an extreme form of all or nothing thinking and the mistaken idea that you need to reduce low self-esteem by wildly overcompensating. Rather than trying to assert that you're special, focus your attention in a more constructive direction. Challenge the idea that you need to be special in order to feel okay about yourself. Accept yourself as a normal, ordinary, worthwhile individual just like everyone else. Trying to get everyone to like you. Substituting your dislike of yourself by trying to win the approval of other people is a recipe for anxiety. You can end up feeling anxious about not achieving your goal of being liked by someone or a group. If you do achieve your goal and win approval, you're likely to become anxious about losing your prize. The real pity is that your imagined need for approval may not help you give off the attractive, self-assured air you would so dearly like. Believing that you need to be liked in order to like yourself can leave you in a desperate position. Allowing people to walk all over you in an attempt to win their approval has a pretty negative impact on your self-esteem for fairly obvious reasons. Rather than attempting to win approval, strive for respect. If you respect yourself, you give off an air of being comfortable in your own skin. People with true self-respect are those often most respected by others. You don't have to be a slave to this principle, but seeking respect can help you assert yourself more easily. Placing yourself above criticism. Perfectionism, covering up your weaknesses, and defensiveness are the inevitable result. You try to be flawless so that other people can't criticize you. However, you end up being unduly harsh with yourself for your shortcomings and errors. You may even believe that you can knock yourself into shape by criticizing yourself, unwittingly lowering your self-image further. Instead, try to accept your human fallibility without condemning yourself. Mistakes and flaws are an unavoidable aspect of being human, no matter how hard you try to change things. Don't be ashamed of your shortcomings. Everyone else has flaws too. Do you think people really lose respect for you if they find out you're only human? They probably don't. Chances are they'll be relieved and feel more able to relax in your company. Their respect for you may even grow because they can accept you with all your flaws. Reveal an imperfection and check out the response you get. Try accepting yourself non-defensively in the face of criticism. If someone criticizes you, try asking them for more information. Most people find owning up to their human fallibility a far more productive strategy than striving to be perfect. Choosing perfection as your goal is setting yourself up to fail. because no one is capable of being perfect. The more you fail to reach your unrealistic goal, the more you pull yourself down. Don't be tempted to try harder to be perfect. Instead, try harder to accept your imperfections. Avoiding failure, disapproval, and rejection. You may find that you avoid situations, places, or people that trigger your tendency to put yourself down. Your underlying attitude towards yourself remains the problem. By avoiding potential failure, you don't change your attitude. You simply postpone setting off your insecurity for a while. A long lasting, elegant solution to overcoming poor self esteem is for you to uncover, examine, and change any unhelpful attitudes you may have developed towards yourself. Then, you can deliberately seek out the things you have been avoiding while practicing your new self accepting attitude. Avoiding your emotions. You may try to block out certain emotions because you regard them as a sign of weakness. Although you may try to persuade yourself that you're strong because you can control your emotions, your relationships and psychological health are likely to suffer. Having a wide range of emotions is part of what makes you human. Try as much as you can. Avoiding these emotions is difficult and unhealthy. You may end up feeling isolated, cold, and aloof in your relationships, which can rob you of much richer and more satisfying experiences. Begin to accept your feelings and recognize that this acceptance shows courage, not weakness. Sometimes experiencing strong negative emotions is a natural response to adversity, a part of the healing process, and a sign of strength in facing up to difficulties. Attempting to feel more significant by controlling others. If you try to control others, the underlying assumption is that you need to prove your significance by having an effect on other people. The problem is that without this proof, you are, in your eyes, insignificant. Perhaps you immediately offer unsolicited advice or try to convert others to a favorite cause to prove that you are a person of influence. Unfortunately, your lack of respect for others' thoughts, feelings, and behaviors may actually be a turnoff to those other people. Compulsively trying to influence or affect people actually shows you have a lack of control. You also reinforce a negative self image by acting as if you have to prove something to be worthwhile or significant. Imagine how you would interact with people if you didn't have the need to prove your power or influence. You can use this imagining exercise as a guide to new, healthier behavior. Over defending your self worth. Constantly defending your self worth can lead to verbal or physical aggression. Besides, if you're confident in your self worth, do you really need to guard it so carefully? Insisting that others must show you respect at all times leads to unhealthy anger. Your compulsive outrage at being disrespected can simply drive you to take people to task for minor assaults on your fragile self esteem. Respect yourself, regardless of whether other people treat you respectfully. Self respect affords you the ability to assert yourself appropriately when it's worth doing so. Feeling superior. You may have superior, equal, and inferior traits compared with other people, but the idea that you're either an inferior or superior person is an overgeneralization. No one is superior or inferior to everyone else in every way. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. Some people can only feel good about themselves when they convince themselves that they are the best. Many people with this tendency try to demonstrate their superiority by showing off their physical or psychological strength. For example, you may feel driven to impress people with your wit, intellect, or any other talent. Unfortunately, these solutions are only temporary ones to your underlying feelings of inferiority, which can be your real target. For change. At worst, your attempts at superiority serve only to alienate other people and mask your true strengths. Although the notion of the real you is a bit simplistic, try dropping the superiority. Be as authentic as you can and see how people respond to you. Blaming nature or nurture for your problems. Blaming your problems on your past, genetics, hormones, brain chemistry, or other people does have the distinct advantage of temporarily alleviating any sense that you're stupid, pathetic, or less worthwhile. This blame system stems from the mistaken idea that if you take an appropriate degree of responsibility for your emotional problems, then it means that you are to blame for those problems. Protecting your self esteem by blaming something or someone else can typically backfire, which makes real change more difficult because you attribute your problems to factors outside of your control. Having an emotional problem simply means you're human. Use your understanding of your past and your makeup to develop a compassionate, sympathetic perspective towards your current difficulties. Take some personal responsibility for keeping your problems going. Recognizing how you may be making your problems worse gives you the power to make changes for the better. Unhelpful ideas about how to feel good about yourself can stem from childhood messages. Teachers or parents may have told you to be the best. Never admit that you're wrong. Our family is better than other families. Failure is not an option, or boys don't cry. Such messages may have been offered to you as words of wisdom, but as an adult, you can reevaluate their truth and helpfulness. You can decide to dump them in favor of updated self and other acceptance beliefs. Thank you for watching the video. If you found it useful, consider subscribing to my channel.